Hey everybody, welcome back to Curling Community Connection. It's 5 o'clock on a Thursday, and what would I think be the last day of school in most of our places in the state. We have actually a school leader, a education support person who works with teachers, who works with classified staff, he works with a whole bunch of people trying to make a state a better place for kids. I am talking about Rony Assali. Started off as a math teacher at Arcadia High School in Scottsdale Unified School District. Worked his way all the way up to SEA president, as I was as well, from 2012 to 2015. He now works as an AEA organizational consultant, and he is assisting Mesa, Fountain Hills, and his home district of Scottsdale. Welcome back to the Roan Star, Rony Assali. Hi, Rony.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That delay really hurt me. Are we on a delay here? Because I thought maybe I froze again. If I do freeze, Andy Gomez will come into the program and ask you questions in my stead, okay?
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
All right. For those of you viewing at home and playing along, we're going to have a nice conversation with Rony Assali about the state of education right now and where we're going, the things that are going on in Scottsdale and how it's different from other places around the state. And, we're just going to talk maybe a little bit about the Invest in Ed ballot initiative that they're trying to get on the ballot, and just whatever you want to talk about. So if you have a question, write it into the little comment bar on Facebook Live. We'll have our friend Andy put it into our Zoom, and by the magic of the internet, we will try to get it answered by the guy in the mohawk. Can you show us that hairdo?
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right, bend down a little bit. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, if not now, then when?
Okay, would you put your face a little closer to the camera? Because I want to show everybody, my friend, I love this guy, but he just shaved about 4 hours ago. He is the hairiest, you are the hairiest guy I know.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that. Thanks for pointing that out.
All right, now I got to get back on the good side. Okay. Hey, do you, first of all, how's your family? How's your 3 kids? Everybody good?
Yeah, they're good. They're live and well and right up in here. So it's a living, screaming household, mostly in a good way, until it's not, and then it's not. But everybody's healthy and everyone's good. So we're thankful for that on our end.
Fantastic. As I said, today is kind of the last day of school for people. It's a bittersweet ending. Lots of times, as you were a teacher at Arcadia, you probably remember the last day of school is bittersweet. You send these kids off that you've worked with for 10 months to try to make the best that they can be. And then after all that time and effort, it just comes to a screeching halt.
Yep.
What do you think what do you think your colleagues are going through right now on the last day of school at this time of COVID?
Similar to brick and mortar is like the last day of school happens and it feels like the last day, but sometimes it doesn't feel like the last day. And it's not until you're in summer where you go, oh, school actually ended. I think to me and to my colleagues and to my wife who's teaching at Arcadia, who's currently grading, it's very similar. Those events that help signify the end aren't there, right? The picnics and the graduations and the photos and those things aren't existing. So I think the reality of school ending hasn't hit quite yet. But when it will, it's, they're trying to make a connection with students to help support them. Oh, there's the live and well house that I was referring to. Yeah, it'll feel a little emptier, I think, just not being able to make those physical connections with them and sending them off.
Yeah. Hey, one of your fans, Rose Smith, says she's happy you're working with the awesome SUSD classified employees.
Yes, they are awesome. I'm very happy to be working with them too.
Hey, so one of the things that I'm kind of concerned with is no matter what form we kind of go back to educating kids next year in August, it's going to be different and it's going to be more expensive. So when I say more expensive, when it's different, that means professional development. That means perhaps less kids in a classroom, which increases costs there, perhaps different hours. Tell me a little bit about your classified staff, your education support professionals. Do you see, one, them being more of a hero in this time right now? And two, how are they going to be perhaps leaned on a little bit going forward?
In terms of heroes, I would say that this crisis has helped elevate them for people to see the work that they're actually doing, because we talk the talk all the time in terms of they're the first and last person someone sees, but we don't actually realize that they're the ones that are kind of the glue of keeping our schools together and our communities together. And I think we see that more now than ever, knowing that they are right transporting the food, making food, servicing IT, technology, etc., all of those things. So my there's a concern also that I have, is because support staff, for the most part, across multiple districts, this isn't just new to Scottsdale, they are now the staff that people tend to bring into the conversation to say, hey, how are things going on your end in real life versus in theory that we have up here? What does it look like in practice? And what should your work look like? So to date, the only district that I am familiar with, that I've worked with, I should say, is Mesa. That's been really inclusive of support staff, whereas the other districts are they feel like the after the fact of, hey, we've got certified figured out, we've got this done, now let's scramble and figure this out. But it's usually directors and supervisors making the decision and less the people on the ground.
Yeah. And I said you work for AEA. What that basically is, your job, if you would kind of put it in 30 seconds or less, what is it your job is with AEA right now?
So as an organizational consultant, the way that I look at it is I'm trying to identify some people that want to get involved in their profession, people that see that their profession has some really great things going on that we want to perpetuate. There's some gaps going on that we need to fix to make sure that our public schools are running well. And those are the people that bring them together and kind of be some sort of navigational beacon to realize how much power and voice they could have over their own job and over their own profession. That's my 15-second pitch as to what I think.
That's your elevator pitch. And I appreciate it, because it's true of teachers. They were once excluded for a large part and then kind of have come into the conversation. This pandemic is once again elevating the profession part of teaching. I think the same will be true of educational support professionals. And going forward, if you're going to solve a problem, if you're going to make the best of this situation that we're currently in, you need to pull out all voices from around the field, right?
Yep.
So cafeteria worker to the bus driver, they need to be part of it. Did you see my interview of the incoming superintendent, Dr. Menzel?
I did see the interview with Dr. Menzel. Yes.
And well, you say Menzel, I say Menzel. Tomato. Right, exactly. Let's call the whole thing off. Let's call the whole thing off.
Get out of my head.
Yeah. So I'm going to come out right now and say my first blush is I'm a fan. I was impressed with what he had to say. And I'm looking forward to him actually starting a new vibe here in Scottsdale. What's your thought?
I'm optimistic about it for sure. I've seen some really talented people be really manipulative in how they speak, and then their actions are completely different than what they're talking about. So I am cautiously optimistic, but I will reserve the right to change my opinion based on how he works. But what I did like about him is it's a lot of it doesn't seem like there's a personal agenda or some sort of ill content or bad issues, that it's not like I need to be here to fix something. And that's the attitude that almost always means you're not here to fix anything other than your own personal issues. And he does not come off that way. So I think that's a positive of how do we think about 10 years, 20 years from now.
That's great. We've had some winners in this district.
That's an interesting word.
You and I have come through the slick billboards that have come in, those kind of ones that you pull the string on the back and they say all those educational words. And we've had governing boards that have just been wooed by good looks and talkers. So, wow. I'm cautiously optimistic too, but I am also, I guess like you, waiting for the devil's in the details and how the actions support the words. What needs to be different for you to be on board here? How does Dr. Menzel need to be different from people like Angela? Yes, I said Angela.
Well, I think to be different than Angela, you just have to not steal. So that's a pretty low benchmark. But I think in terms of what needs to be different is how people are included. I think there's a false sense of inclusion, and then there's a real method to include voices and people in the room. Because I think what you've been saying, I mean, every Zoom call with anyone has been, what is next year going to look like? What is the solution? And there is no good solution, because you essentially have to reconcile, are we meeting people's safety needs, their social emotional needs, their academic needs? And those things don't jive with each other based on the decision that's going to be made. But the more people included in that decision authentically, the better we're all going to feel about whatever we end up pulling the trigger on. So that to me is what I would love to see with Menzel. And it's less him meeting with this group and him meeting with this group. Is, are there people at the big table where we've got administrators that are at the district level, administrators at the site level, teacher voices and certified voices, support staff voices, that are all talking about the same ideas, to make sure that we've kind of checked off as many boxes. So I say this all the time, the theory that's happening in a meeting looks close to the practice once it's implemented.
Yeah. And a lot of people are saying nice things about you out there. Faith, Julie, Rose, Jay Barbuto. Yeah, I said Jay Barbuto.
They saying anything? Oh, okay.
I said your name, Barbuto. Anyway, it's true. On a scale of 9 to 10, how much of your success would you say is due to me being a president before you and helping you through these difficult times?
I would say probably like a 9.5. But if you round up, let's call it a 10. I think what I've learned from you.
Let's just stop right there.
Perfect. I appreciate. Thank you so much.
I accept your apology, and I accept this on behalf of my mommy. No, I'm just kidding you. It seems we've been very lucky in SEA that we've had presidents who have been better than the ones before, who have asked for help and guidance, and was able to seek everybody's opinion and then go forth with what they felt. And I thought that you were an excellent president during a very difficult time. And so congratulations to you, my friend. And good to see you continuing the work. But be that as it may, it was during my presidency that I was able to sit at the leadership table. I was there every week. Dr. Barassi had a Monday morning meeting of his cabinet, and he included the president of the Teachers Association. And I was a little nervous at first, because you have all those voices that you're trying to represent. One person isn't going to get it always right. But I have to tell you, for our district to move forward, I strongly recommend Dr. Menzel have a teacher leader, either the president or the vice president of the SEA, on his weekly meeting, because we talked about things in theory. And you have a lot of people who are in administration that are trying to say the right things to keep their job, rather than saying the right things to educate children. And sometimes those two don't mesh. It was quite an amazing time, and I just thought it was the best for our kids, and I hope that moves forward. Are you doing anything to try to impress upon him? Have you talked to him? We should just start there.
I personally have not. I know that the SEA, a few of the exec board members have talked to him. I'm trying to work with the support staff to get a meeting with him there, because I think that those steps need to be taken to make sure that our classified are in the room, having a conversation. But I figured between COVID and his current job that I want the school year to end, and then kind of at the beginning of June start thinking about what it looks like. Because I think what you said. So I sat in some of those meetings as well. There were the LLT meeting, which is a room of 30, and then there was cabinet, where it seems like decisions are made there and then they're pushed out to those meetings.
Right.
The group of 30 was not as authentic in hearing voices as the cabinet of 6 or 7. I think that is where, I think at the highest level is where those voices need to be. And I know the argument will always be, well, should it be an association person? Could it be just a random teacher? Do they have to be a member? Right? Like why the association is so pressed upon. And you can answer that question if you look at every survey an association's ever given and every survey that a district's ever given, and see that when we get 1,000 people that reply to a SEA survey and 300 people that reply to a district survey, I think that tells you why, right? People are most comfortable talking to their colleagues about what the issues are versus talking to the official quote unquote district, whatever that might be. So
yeah, the district just did a survey. It looked like it was really intended just for parents. It wasn't really about asking teachers how it went, which is fine if that's going to be the focus. But I heard that it was really sent to teachers as well to try to get their input. And of course, it was granular as to what school are you at, what grade level you at. And we know that teachers are scared for the most part to actually open their mouth about certain things. So not having the anonymity probably hurts the results. Are you guys, so I saw that survey. I didn't think it was very good for getting teacher input. Are you an SEA doing a teacher survey? Because absent of what the district does, you're returning to classrooms or you're returning to teaching in August. You need to get it right, whether they're going to help get it right or not. But what are you guys doing to get that voice coordinated?
So interestingly enough, is Scottsdale put out a survey as well, or not Scottsdale, I'm sorry, SEA, so the association, the same day that the district had put out a survey. So we had shared with the district of, hey, we want to put out a survey because we really need to see where our certified staff, just from an SEA side representing that. And the district didn't say anything that they were putting out a survey at that point to the local leaders. So it seemed odd. The problem, and I think this speaks to the bigger issue, is we have the situation where the district is really clear as to where and how SEA can communicate in the space that it has. So oftentimes it's been home emails. And if anybody on this Zoom or Facebook Live is a teacher, you know that as soon as you get something to your school email, it is like, what's going? That's how we respond to. And oftentimes we don't check the third Gmail address that we have. So the turnout on those surveys has been a little bit lower. But again, it's barriers that are placed there for nothing more than control issues, I feel like.
Yeah, so we used to have a teacher employment agreement. We've had it for over 50 years. And let's just get right into it. There was a woman named Angela who came in and stole a bunch of money, hired a bunch of friends, really tried to crush this district with the help of some governing board members who will remain nameless. We call those the dark years. And so the dark years, we still haven't seen the light because the employment agreement hasn't come back. And through this show, I've been talking to some attorneys, and we are an at-will state. People usually call it right to work. That really doesn't have anything to do with your work. It's right. At will.
Or rights. Yeah.
Right. And your rights come from having an agreement. And they took that away and didn't bring it back. One of the things that were, we had 115 pages.
Yep.
It was worked on in a collaborative manner so that it was kind of like when you play a game, say football or soccer. This is the rule book. So both teams play by the same rules, and you understand how the game is won or how the game is played. One of those rules was how SEA was able to communicate, and it said quite freely and blanket, SEA could use all district communication resources to communicate, which seemed like it made so much sense and didn't even need to be in there, because when you're communicating with teachers about work issues, you want to get that communication out. You want to get why. All right, here's the big question. Why would a district want to get rid of an employment agreement that they bargained mutually, voted on, accepted each year for 50 years? Why would they want to get rid of that?
I mean, why do they think? I think the why, I still have yet to figure it out. Like, I see districts across the state, and even talking to other state affiliates, of the indicator of success for them is not we work with our association or we don't. Like, that is not the heavy that lives there. In fact, working with their association, they're able to do more things to figure it out where people are on board, right? So when you're trying to herd 3,000 employees, doesn't it make the most sense when there's support from those who represent 1,500 of them and say, yes, we're on board and here's why? I think the why they think it's good to not have it is because of sound bites that we always hear from anti-union, right? We protect bad teachers, even though if anyone looked at the TEA and even state statute, that's not a union thing. State statute outlines what teacher evaluation process is like, and they clearly say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, right? Those things are not addressed or dealt with at the site level by a site administrator. The issue is not the union protecting bad teachers. The problem at that point is instructional leadership that needs to be in the game.
It's due process. And I have to say, if there's any way that a poor principal can get further along in his career, it's to get rid of the loudmouth teacher who's trying to say, hey, this is wrong. This is wrong by kids. You can't do this. We shouldn't be doing this. And that's the squeaky wheel that gets axed. That's why we have due process, to make sure that the person who is the national board certified teacher and makes a stink because things are going wrong is not then kind of moved out
Right.
of the profession.
Right.
Um,
And one thing to just that you'd mentioned with due process is we're a right to work state, but the employees that are at will employees right now are classified staff only. So certified have protections in statute. The bar that the state set for classified staff is absolutely no due process. So they could be given the notice to be fired when their name shows up on a governing board agenda to be let go, and that's when they can appeal to the board and nothing more. So I think there are things that don't cost money, and talking to with Menzel as well moving forward is we need to establish how we value support staff other than just going, well, we're in a tight budget year, therefore, because there's a way to make sure their voices are heard and that they're protected so they can voice their concerns. And right now that doesn't exist because the bar is set low at the state, but we don't need to set it low at the district level.
I probably helped more people out of the profession when I was a union president rather than keeping people, like they say, oh, you're just protecting. I would actually work with principals over how to evaluate properly by the dates what you need to do for documentation so that it does, because nobody wants a bad teacher
Right.
in the schools. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's just ridiculous. But we also have to make sure that we're giving people the opportunity to show what they can do and not kind of picked upon. It's difficult. Jay Barbuto asked, why is it essential for education unions to work towards having a professional agreement in other districts or in their district?
Well, I think you said it. I mean, it's the rule book, and kind of like the NFL, when they realized that there were lots of concussions, they didn't say, "Cool, there's concussions, let's move forward." They brought the rule book back and said, "We need to now look at how we change some things to make sure that certain hits now yield a fine or a higher." Right? The conversations kept evolving, and that's what an agreement is. It shouldn't. I don't think all of these things should live in board document where you have 5 people that may change completely within 4 years that are going back to reassessing and readdressing, because guess what? The certified and support staff and admin that are sitting at a table and they say, what are our interests? Here's what they are. What helps us meet our interests? Here's what they are. These things we can do, these things we can't. And in an ideal world, at the end of the year, that package is presented to the board. We don't pick and choose which item we agree on and don't agree on, and then the board approves each one. We say in good faith as a joint group, here's what we want to move forward with. And that's where you can call it a banana instead of agreement. It's the process of collective bargaining where you're not in a district committee and you're afraid of what you say to the HR director. You're at a level playing field committee where you can talk details and depth without fear.
I just think, especially in this new environment that we're going to come upon, it's true. And teachers will come back and there'll be a rule on how they behave or whatever, whether it's with them helping out to form that rule book or whether it's them part of the conversation. They're going to come back. Time marches on. But if you want people to buy in, they have to be at the table. You have the opportunity to get 1,500 people moving in one direction. Whereas if you don't have anybody at the table or any of their representatives or their voices being heard, then basically you are going to have fits and stops. You're going to have skid marks, as Andy Forlish used to say.
And Andy's the new superintendent in Mesa, by the way.
New superintendent in Mesa. I want to say something about Andy Forlish, if I may. She was in leadership when I was the president, and it was really through our work together that we brought what do we call those groups? Professional learning communities. Sorry. And if you remember that time, we took it slow. We went long. We included everybody, and professional learning communities really started out great. We all went to the DeFore training. We did, we had teams. You guys at Arcadia put in this great plan where you had that power hour or whatever that was on Wednesdays, right? And you did so much innovation, and you guys were totally on board. And then it just, because of institutional knowledge getting lost and people coming in with their own agendas and saying, oh, teachers aren't working hard enough. They don't do this. They don't do that. They didn't accompany any kind of time with the work. It kind of went downhill. I still believe that if you want to improve the profession, it comes through teacher learning from teachers. Do you agree with that?
100%. first ever principal, my only principal, which I think was probably the best principal ever, Dr. Amory Woolsey, we would be sitting in those meetings figuring out how to implement PLCs, and we would be racking our brain. There'd be 9 of us, and we wouldn't get somewhere productive. And then the task we had when we left was, we need more people in the room. Go get more voices and bring them back to try to figure this out. It wasn't, there's too many people, let's cut it in half so 4 people can make a call. So that sticks out to me all the time, and how decisions should be made.
Yeah, but then you had to start putting an agenda together, and you had to start taking notes, and then you had to start doing
It's
these
messy work, right? Like, it's people
You
work.
put a book together because somebody needed to say, "Oh, look at the work they did." Ta-da! Oh man, that just kills me. I'm sorry about where it left off. I think it was a good thing. I hope we get back to it. All right, I'm going to start getting to some questions. We're definitely going to go long, so tell the kids they better put their own food in the microwave. Lara Shaman, what do you do? What do you think what parents can do working with teachers to support the profession? Parents support teachers differently at each school in the same district. What kind of support is the most helpful? And of course, Lara is with the parent council, so you better answer that one well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think being able to have open and honest conversations is helpful, right? So if you think about it as every site having a site representative that is there to get feedback from certified, it would be ideal to have one at each site that is getting feedback from the support staff at the site in terms of what are the issues, what's going well, what do we need to build on, what do we need to change. And then there is a monthly powwow get together that includes the parent rep as well, to have a conversation of how do we do this thing together? Because I think, right, the biggest backlashes and blowouts have happened when one group was involved and the others weren't, or somebody was left out, and then it's after the fact that the craziness happened. So I think that's how the support can happen. And it would really need to be at a site level where there's some trust, because oftentimes when teachers are pleading for something to happen and a site admin is unresponsive, they know that if they go to the parent and the parent brings it up, all of a sudden it happens, until the principal finds out that a teacher went to a parent, and then they're kind of put it into their place as to stay in your lane. So I think if there's trust to say, hey, we're here to have open, honest conversations to make our school better for our students, if that foundation's there, that is a perfect example, is creating those structures of monthly communications of.
So what I'm hearing from you, if I may, is more of a robust site council approach.
Yes, that is a structure that exists that could feel like that. Yeah.
So equal partners, having them play the part of input and part of the teamwork.
Yeah, and they own the committee, right? It's not like one person comes in and says, "Here's the agenda," unless part of the agenda is, okay, now it's time for us to have big open conversations and bring some things to the table that don't live in the agenda that I created.
Okay. Sandy Flayton says she loved it when you came to Chaparral and gave us the freedom to talk. That was nice. Jennifer's got a long one here, so I'm just going to read it, okay? I'm not even sure if it's a question. I'm going to go ahead and say something unpopular. My kids have only had a couple of bad teachers over many, many years. In neither case was the SEA protecting the teacher. They weren't properly evaluated and documented. The SEA was never in capital letters, involved. Blaming the SEA for the few bad actors means that you don't know anything about education. Well, that wasn't a question, but that was nice, wasn't it?
I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like every profession, right? Like, are there systems in place to give people a chance to get better, like we do with our kids? And if they've been given that chance and those resources and there's no improvement, then yeah, that needs to be a hard conversation had with them. And I've had that as association president, and principals need to be able to have those conversations as well with their staff.
Yeah. Rose asked another question. What about new teacher mentor programs? We used to have a robust teacher mentor program. Do you remember the BEST program?
I went through it.
Tell me what's SEA thinking about with new teacher mentor? You guys,
the idea is toyed around and passed around from time to time, but it's really difficult to do something official when, and we brought it up to the district, and the district said, oh, we have a mentoring program. And then they came back and said, oh, wait, we don't. Right. So there's the institutional knowledge of, we had one and we would like to work together on developing one. Like, we have some of the highest national board certified numbers across the state. We've got the mentors, right? Like we've got the right people in place that are doing the work and doing it well that can mentor people. Um, it's just, do we have a partnership to build that and make it a priority? And I think, I mean, I'm going to get into the invest in ed piece here because it's like the $1 billion up to that it brings in every year, but a piece of that, a percentage, and it's been a while, but I want to say maybe 12 or 15% is designated just to give districts mentoring money where teachers in the first 3 years have to have a mentor. So there's,
Well, that's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, the
Okay,
research.
so you brought up Invest in Ed, young man. Sell me on it. I'm a voter. What is this all about, and why do I have to support it?
I mean, this is about getting a phone call every single year and being like, please beg your representative to bring more money. Please do this work. Please go out and walk for a bond and override. Every year we are the one of the lowest funded states, and we have to beg, borrow, and steal to make sure that the people elected actually care about our public community schools. And in Arizona, they haven't for a while, and the track record shows that. This is a way that we are leveling the taxation in terms of income tax, and it's an additional tax on basically if you make more than $250,000 as an individual, you get taxed just on the money above the 250,000 in taxable income. And then that money is going to be a designated funding source that is used. 50% of it is for certified staff, and it's literally hiring and or paying more. So retention and recruiting. A quarter of it goes towards support staff, which doesn't exist anywhere in our state where we actually dedicate a source for classified staff. Like this is a way to bring in funding that we don't have to go and scrape by every single year because it will always be there and it'll always be voter protected. Like I'm tired of running this race every year. Let's run a damn good one this year and not have to be so stretched every single year that budget season comes in.
Would you tell me where the money's coming from and how much money it is?
Yeah, so it's going to be under $1 billion. It's about 970 million based on estimates. But what it is, it's an income tax on if you are filing jointly, any money that you make that's over $500,000 has an additional tax on it. It's about 3%. I wish I would have studied more on this because I've said it so many times pre-quarantine. And then anyone as an individual, it's that same percent increase is on any income they make over $250,000, and it's taxable income over $250,000, not what shows up on a W-2 right there.
So basically, me as a teacher, when I make $200,000 a year, this will not be any increase on my taxes?
Basically, you as a doctor, if you're married, will probably not impact you at all. We're not like when I first saw it, I'm like, oh man, my dentist. And then you look at the average dentist in Arizona and they're like $98,000. It won't impact most people that I've ever met. When you think taxable
and
income.
and just to be clear, people have to make up that, they'll make that choice for themselves, and hopefully that you'll be able to get, where can people get more information if they want to help collect signatures?
So there is the website, and I believe it is just, I don't know if I can drop it in the chat. You know what? Jay Barbuto is going to drop it in the chat. He doesn't know that, but I just put him on it. And that's where it actually takes you to a variety of resources. So do you want to help with phone banking for people who have petitions and say, hey, I'm not comfortable leaving my house, but I want to call to see how many signatures you have to get an idea. Do you want to notarize? Do you need someone to come notarize? Do you need something mailed to you? So that website's got kind of the branches of what people can do based on their comfort level.
Okay, I want to ask one more question about the mentoring part. Charity Reckla puts up a good question. I talked to the head of the K-12 Institute, and she was telling me that the amount of money spent on training of new teachers each year is roughly $78 million. That's what they estimated as. So here she says, new hires are probationary status for 3 years. What does that actually mean if there is no mentoring? We want to retain good and invested educators. This will eventually save money for the district. So, I mean, it sounds to me like that could kind of pay for itself if we were mentoring teachers well, right?
I agree. And I think with mentoring, this is where in the association work, what I've been telling my locals is, when this thing gets on the ballot and we are going for it, we need to be part of the conversation of what mentoring looks like. So the theory of mentoring doesn't happen, and then it becomes a bunch of paperwork and it no longer is meaningful, right? Like we want this experience to develop new teachers and also develop the skills of the mentors, right? Like this is a chance for them to get to the next level while staying in their profession. So yeah, I mean, a mentoring program for me would be awesome. There's there's a state, and I can't think of which one, but in my training that I went to, they give all of their first and second year teachers an extra prep period, an extra planning period.
Wow.
So they're like, hey, right, you need time and you need energy. We can do that by doing this. They also have a mentoring program as well, but they're right, like they see so much value in being able to raise these people right in the field.
Okay, so the 2020 election's coming up in November. There's one guy on this screen that's running, and he really wants to win.
I know that guy.
What?
Yep.
You're not running, me.
Yeah.
There are other races that are extremely important to the people of Scottsdale, not just if this ballot initiative gets on the ballot. Talk to me about governing board, where we've been, where we're going, and where are some really fire pit that we might step in here.
You know, where we've been, I always think of the Black Hole Sun music video.
Black Hole Sun.
Yeah, where it's like really dark and the guy's like roasting a Barbie doll on the barbecue. It's like weird and strange, but it doesn't
Black
feel
Hole
good.
Sun.
Yeah.
How was that?
That's the song. I didn't know you were going to sing the whole thing. I'm sorry. I would not have brought it up if I knew that was going to happen. That's where we've been. So what's happening is, right, I want Eric to get into office, but Eric getting into office to make sure that our funding and policies make sense. Wait a
second. Eric who?
Eric Erland.
Oh, that guy.
Like I'm saying, at the state level, so when these decisions are made correctly, when they come down to the local, it's that governing board that's going to make the final stamp. So we have prior governing board members that hate public education. They don't even send their kids there. One of them is running a training to recruit more bad governing board members that want to privatize. I'm not going to mention her name, but it rhymes with Schmerby. But so they're actively finding board members to fill these 3 slots that are going to be open in November. So we've got to make sure that we find, I'm going to say normal. I think who we found is above normal and extraordinary, but we need to just get back. We haven't been at normal in so long with governing boards where they are making decisions not because they have a personal interest in a math adoption program that occurred and they hated it, so they decided to run for the board. Or not people that are running for the board because they want their district to bust their kid, even though their kid doesn't even go to the district, right? Like the 3 people, like Rose, Julie, and Zach, have a really vested interest in, I'm part of this community. My kids.
Slow down there a little so the people that are viewing can actually hear the names. All right, yes. Go ahead a little.
Yeah, sorry. So we have Zach Lindsay.
Yeah.
Rose Smith. And Julie Sinowski.
Okay. Zach Lindsay, parent of kids in this district?
Yep. Parent of his kids go to Cochise.
Okay. Rose Smith, she worked for the district in some capacity, right?
She is a champion of life for the district. So her kids went to the district. She worked for the district. Her daughter teaches in the district. Her grandkids go to the district.
And her sister's a principal.
She is the district, and her sister is the principal in the district. So, yeah.
And Julie with the name of Sianowski.
Yes, very easy to spell. Reminds me of the Gettle commercial. But she, so her kids went to the district. She served as an educator for many, many years, worked with AEA on the board as well. And now she wants to get back, right? I mean, it's kind of one of the coolest things you can do as you retire from the teaching field and say, my next step in this journey is to give back. Oh, I know. Like that guy.
What time is it? What time is it, Rony? What time is it?
It's time to play a game?
No.
Oh, it's time for the percolator. Oh, it's time for a teacher. I'm like, it's time for the percolator?
All right, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
You're good.
No, I mean, seriously, my shirt's purple, right? We have some people that are actually in this group, Purple for Parents. And while I admire their moxie, I do not admire why they're in it. They think that this is some kind of leftist plot to warp the minds of the young people and make them into sex slaves. I mean, come on, really?
Right. It's, any organization that's created as a counter really doesn't have, they're not rooted in anything, right? Other than just to be the counter of something that we believe in terms of funding education.
Yeah, you start in anger, you end in anger.
Yep, right. They fell in love with the fire.
Yeah. It's been so much fun talking to you, Rony.
Ditto. I miss you.
I love you.
I love you.
I just went one above you. I want to play a game. You want to play a game?
I love games. Yes.
Okay. For those of you at home, you can play along. This is in the style of the $100,000 pyramid, okay? I've got the answers. Rony has to give me the correct answers. I will give him hints. I cannot say the word themselves. Rony, you have a wife, Katie. You have children, Brady, Macy, and Sadie. These are all nouns that end in Y or end in the E, right? The long E. Brady, Rony, Katie. Do you get
We
it?
named them. Yep.
Okay, there we go. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, here we go. Remember, I can't give you the word itself, so don't force me. Okay. Blank cat.
Blank cat?
Yeah.
Alley cat.
Perfect. Put one on the board. Put
Nice.
one on the board. Okay. You read these in the evening. You tell the,
Nighttime books.
it ends in Y. You have to tell this because you don't want to get in trouble.
Lie.
An elaborate, excuse me?
Story.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Not a jackass, but a
Donkey.
very good, very good. It's a certain kind of business.
Sleazy.
No, very close. We're going noun. A barrel of.
Monkey business.
Yeah, very good. Okay, blank cock. It's also a flower.
Poppycock.
Type of. Yes, there you go. Okay,
Poppycock.
there you go. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, here we go. All right. This is probably ahead of your time, but they're a type of shoe, a type of loafer.
Penny loafers.
Yes,
And they are
yes,
definitely
yes.
ahead of my time. You're correct.
Okay, this little guy, he lives in a coal mine. He'll tell you when something's up.
Oh, little canary.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
last thing he'll say when something's up. Poor guy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, last one. Angela Birdwell was one.
An a-hole. Wait.
No, it's got to end in Y.
Oh,
please.
sleazy.
No,
Sleazy.
no,
Slippery.
no. Hey, slow down. Let me give you the
sorry.
next clue.
You said the name. It
We
like
actually-
that's something to me.
Yeah, I know. It really triggers. We have to go through training as teachers, and we have to put one of these up on the wall so we know all about it. It's one of the Moodles. She was a
Harasser.
okay. It starts with, it's like a cow that you don't milk with the horns.
Oh, yes. Yeah. She was a bully.
Yeah, there you go. Ding, ding,
Sorry,
ding, ding.
there's so many words in an and Y that we haven't even scratched the surface of Ange. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up in a semi-sweet way. I want you to give a shout out, some words of wisdom to the graduates. All right, it's graduation week, and they've been through a lot. What kind of pearls of wisdom do you have as a former math teacher and a current teacher advocate for the kids?
I think life is going to happen no matter what. And some of these quarantine events are big to you and some of them are not because you're surviving just fine. But I think it's what you make of it. So you've got an opportunity to look at what's happening now and go, is there something that I should be doing, whether it's connecting with people I haven't connected with, learning something, doing something, just spending quality time with people that you love, that this opportunity isn't going to be afforded if and when we go back to normal. It'll be at the speed of light once again. So take the time that you've got now. And I mean, challenges are coming, but you're making it through one of the biggest ones, which is only hopeful that you're going to make it through the other ones.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Rony Assali, organizational consultant for AEA, works with the districts of Mesa, Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and all of Arizona's children. I do want to thank you. Coming up tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we're going to have the wonderful Anjuli Morse. She's the Queen of the Babe Council, a Saguaro graduate, and we will actually have my words for the graduating class of 2020 as well. So tune in to 5 o'clock. Can I see that Mohawk dance us off now? Come on, dance it, Mohawk, dance it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.